this episode, I really want to kind of expand on the idea of presence and sort of what that means. And I know it's kind of like different for everyone. So that's why I'm kind of curious, like what it means to you and sort of how you find, like, sort of how you ground yourself.
Right? Yeah, it's a practice, that's for sure. My first thought is that I haven't been doing a good job of it recently, but then
Mm.
again, like I have to remind myself like what even is like a good job of doing it. Like what's a good job
Exactly.
present? I don't know. Uh I think the best job we can do maybe is just to like remind ourselves uh to snap back into it. Um
Hmm.
and like snapping back into it can mean a lot of things. But for me, it just means like focusing on like the physical sensations like around me.
Hmm.
Okay, like my butt in this chair, or like how is my heart feeling right now? And like that to me is when I'm like I feel most present. I've been in my brain a lot recently. And
Yeah.
it's like it's been tough because like I told you before, like I feel like I'm going through a lot of changes right now.
Hmm.
So it can be like really tough when your like mind is like sending you stress signals like, oh fuck, like I need to do my taxes, or like, I need to do I've been having like a long list of like things to do that are not
Hmm.
fun. And my brain has kind of been like freaking out about them. And so there's good in that too. There's good in being freaked out and like being anxious and like being stressed, because those moments, like I had a moment last weekend where I was like, I kind of freaked out a little bit. And then I just had to like feel it. I had to
Hmm.
feel it. And I just had to like sit down and like take a moment, because I was like, I've been moving too fast. Like I haven't really been like digesting. So yeah, I took some time this last week to like figure it out, and not figure it out as in like just like sit and listen to freaking manifest meditation on YouTube, and
Hmm.
and just like relax.
It definitely, there's a lot of like emotions that can like fester, and you really like I found when it's like you're kind of living more in your mind a little bit, it's like I feel like I really feel it in my chest a lot sometimes. Like if I'm
Mm,
like really anxious, like I've noticed like when I do sit with it, it's like, okay, yeah, like where am I actually like feeling this emotion,
mm-hmm,
and so where can I kind of like send a little bit of love to myself.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or like I realized throughout this week, because this week I was kind of like digesting, like, okay, so like last weekend, it was like really rough for me because I was just like really stressed about like all these like life things. And
Hmm.
then last week, I was kind of just like, this past week, I've just been working on like digesting it. And like, because when I felt that like stress, I didn't even realize that I was stressed. Like, my mind consciously wasn't stressed. Like I wasn't really thinking about all these things. It kind of just like manifested in my body, and I
Hmm.
was feeling like really uncomfortable. And it for me, it was my throat. Like I felt something in my throat. Like it just felt like tight, right? And I
Hmm.
was like, okay, okay, maybe this means that I am anxious. Maybe this means that I am stressed. Like I need to like go and relax and like
Yeah.
think about the things that maybe are making me stressed. And then like that like helped me like kind of unravel the knot.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely easy to distract ourselves from, or at least like when you are thinking about so many different things, it's like, hey, like you said, you don't realize that you're stressed. And then it's like your body eventually is just like, no, you need to chill out. You need to like slow down,
Right.
just sit down for a little bit. Like you don't need to do all of these things in one day.
Yeah. Yeah. Your body is the one to be like, no, something is not right. Like, listen to me
Yeah.
right now. Listen to something that is going.
And I think that's definitely a practice too of learning how to be able to listen to your body.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's like, I mean, like through the unraveling process of this last week of like trying to like unpack everything. It's funny because like unraveling has such a negative connotation, but like in this case, I mean like I'm unraveling this massive knot that I had, right?
Mhm.
Uh, so it's like a good,
Then you can kind of figure out like, how do I wind it back up so it's not so tight,
right?
if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
let's put it in a nice bundle, not like in a massive knot, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
That's more like
right.
what it is. You were talking about noticing those changes in your body. That's for sure because I feel like when we can be uncomfortable or like when we are uncomfortable, a lot of people act from that place of discomfort. And it's easy for me myself to like act from that place of discomfort and like take something out on someone or like be short with someone. And
Yeah.
you might think that it's like external pressures on you that are like, oh, it's their fault that they're making me uncomfortable. But like really like what is it? What is making you uncomfortable right now? Like why is your body
Yeah.
tense? It's really weird.
Yeah. Yeah, and another thing I've been thinking about too, like when I was younger, like I feel like I kind of had a tendency to like shake a lot, like if or like my knee, I'd like have to tap my foot a lot if I was just like feeling like,
Mm,
especially at school or something. I remember like feeling this way of just like because I was just nervous in a lot of ways. And I've been thinking about it more. Like I always kind of just stopped my like would force myself to like stop shaking and like I think shaking is actually like okay to do. Like I think there's things that we can do to like sort of shake off the energy that we're feeling that like I think there's ways that like our body is even like trying to deal with it, but we
mm,
just like try to like jerk ourselves around and like not do what it's trying to do.
yeah. Or I mean, conversely, like I've fallen into just like sitting around before or like taking a nap, like
Mm,
feeling awful and then just like, oh, I'm exhausted from feeling awful. I want to take a nap. And that's tough.
yeah.
But I mean, isn't that how you said like you were moving a lot in elementary school and like, or as a kid, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Like, I've always been a fidgeter too.
yeah. But also, we weren't meant to like be sitting around like as humans. We're not meant to be like sitting in a classroom for hours and hours a day or sitting in office for hours and hours a day. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So while some of it to kind of like ease the mind is like sitting down and breathing through it. But yeah, you're right. Like some of it is also moving through it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I think it's so important to have things like, like we both have flow arts. Like that's something that like is such a reliable thing. But then it's sometimes you get in flow ruts too. But I feel like it's so important to have something like that that you can rely on to be like, okay, I'm feeling like crap. Maybe I should just, maybe like I need to just go outside and do this, even if I don't feel like it. Like, and then at
Hmm.
the end of it, you're just like, wow, okay, this is why I do this.
Yeah. Yeah. So much release. But when I was a kid, I we raise our kids with like, especially in the US, like beating exercise into them, like you need to exercise so that you can be
Yeah.
fit, like healthy. And like it's just it was framed in such a way that just did not seem like any fun. Yeah.
Right.
And
Same
it
for like
didn't.
eating healthy too.
Right, right. But it's always, oh, exercise to be skinny or like eat healthy to be skinny. And it's like
Hmm.
now I'm like, reconciling my relationship with all of that. And it's groundbreaking in lots of ways.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just, yeah, we kind of grow up in like the crazy world that it's like there's so many like external influences, like all the things that we're exposed to from a young age. It's like, I don't think I'll ever like not have like self-image issues. Like even if I feel better about myself or whatever, it's like it's still in the back of my mind. Like that's just something that's like ingrained in my mind of like,
Right.
oh, am I not skinny enough? Like all these things, even though it's like it literally doesn't even matter. What
Right.
matters is like how you actually like feel. And I think it's yeah, important to like develop more of a relationship with food of like eating stuff that will give you energy to get through the day
Hmm.
rather than just like and still enjoying things that you like every once in a while. But I don't know. I definitely have a problem with binge eating, but
Mm.
that's a whole nother thing.
um, you might never not have these thoughts. And I feel like that's like a really good realization to make, right? Like I can't hate myself for having these thoughts that like all of my like my family or like that media has put on me ever since I was a kid. Like I can't be mad at myself for like soaking that up as like a such a vulnerable child who is just
Right.
like consuming all this media. Like I can't hate myself for like having those thoughts of like not being worthy. Like accept that they're there and accept that they're not true.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's all like recognizing like what thoughts are constructive to like, I don't know, there's things that pop in and it's like being able to just sort of like accept whatever comes to mind rather
Right.
than being like, oh no, like don't think that or whatever. Just being like, okay, like it popped up, let it float on by. I don't know.
Right. Or like, oh, that popped up. Is it helpful? Like, is that going to make me feel better about myself? No. Okay, then like I don't need to be ruminating on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like like, especially like as we're talking about like being younger, like it's like I go back and like read like old diaries and I'm like, dang, like I used to like be so like the way I used to view my life was just like, but it's just because when you're little, you have such a small, like you live in such a small world until you really start to like meet different people and move and stuff.
Have experiences.
Yeah. But then yeah, and I think just as we grow older, we do have to find like what works for us. How do you think like having like hobbies or just different interests, like do you think that contributes to kind of your overall well-being and outlook?
I feel like I'm so passionate about people having hobbies. Like
Hmm.
I so the first hobby I really picked up as like an adult hobby was in college. I was like going through a rough time and I had always doodled. Like I always like was into drawing like my entire life, but I never like seriously pursued it or like seriously gave myself time just to draw and like have that as an outlet. And so then like I don't know what it was in college. I passed a notebook one time and I was like, oh, I should try to do that. And so then like I just had it by my nightstand and I would like draw at night sometimes and like do it here and there. And then like when I started doing that, I was able to digest what I was thinking in certain ways and like or something would come out of me that like I wasn't even consciously thinking of. It just really kind of ties back to like the way that our body knows some things that like our mind isn't conscious of. Uh,
Hmm.
but yeah, so I started doing that. And then like it kind of just led to more things. And I was like, oh, I should try journaling now. And then I really like journaling. And then I saw people do flow arts and I read a book about flow and like or no, it was about like PTSD, people who deal with PTSD.
Mm.
And It kind of talked about how moving helps your brain digest.
Mm.
Um, and so I kind of like took that idea and applied it to poi. I picked up poi and it felt really good to like move all of my body in a way that was not for anyone, like not for getting fit, not for the sake of like looking cool. I had no plans of like showing anyone. Like I was just like, I
Mhm.
do this thing. And then like poi just gave me so much more confidence to like, oh, and then, you know, like exercising feels good now because like I feel more confident like in my body. And then I picked up dancing after that because like then I was more confident in like moving in front of a crowd of people. And then I picked up fire. And so it's like just find one hobby. Like
Mhm.
just find a hobby and then like go from there. Like I think that it's so important to spend your time doing something that is not for monetary gain, that is not for like social gain. It's
Mhm.
just for like you and you only, and just do that. um so hobbies are not only important for your mental health or my mental health, um but also like my hobbies got me my friends. Like I like that's so important to me. Like me and my sister talk on the phone all the time, and she's like, man, how do you get such great friends? And I'm like, I have a hobby and like I did it at the park, and like now I have more friends that do it. Like that's what happens.
Yeah.
I like you doing what you like to do and like putting it out there in some way, whether it be on social media or like at the freaking park, you know, you're putting yourself out there and like showing the world, like, hey, this is what I like to do. And like, maybe that'll attract people, maybe it won't. But like at the end of the day, it's it's a mental health outlet for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is interesting how like one hobby leads to the next. Because I feel like
Right.
it's really like getting back into like rediscovering like who you are as a child. 'Cause it's like that's who we are as kids. Like we're always like exploring, like
Mm-hmm.
wanting to do different things, and we love to like run around and spin in circles and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like reconnecting with that. Like as we're getting older, like you can still stay in touch with that inner kid.
Yeah. Yeah, that is what it is as well, isn't it? Like, because that's what we did as kids all the time is just play, you
Mhm.
know? And like why stop playing?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I agree. Like it's really such a great way to find people that you actually connect with. Cause it's like, okay, we have this one thing in common. Like we probably have all these other things in common too. And but that's how you meet them is through these different avenues. Like, I mean, through flow arts, I've met so many people. And like before, like I was always like pretty shy. I didn't have a lot of friends. Like even
Yeah.
like in college, like I didn't have that many friends.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to have more friends, but I just like I didn't feel like I really fit in anywhere.
Yeah.
But like with flow, it's like you can just like meet up with someone and not even like talk that much if you don't want
y-
to. Like you can just like get in the zone.
Yeah. No, it's just so nice to like have someone there to do it with.
Yeah.
Um, but I love my hobbies. Man. And also like
Yeah.
hobbies are the hobbies really speak to how much growth you can do while you're alone. And I think that hobbies
Mhm.
help you be able to be comfortable to be alone
Yes.
in a lot of ways. Like although we're talking about like how it can make you friends, like it can also just like allow you to be alone, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a good point. Like, because it's just you're like bonding with yourself.
Yeah, I would, and I think that's also why it really helped me through that, like, a tough time in college, because I was just able to, like, have my journal with me, and I felt like I had a friend, or, like, I had a confidant, and I would just, like, take it around campus and, like, draw
Mhm.
and be in my own world and be completely content with, like, sitting alone. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's an important part of a hobby as well, because you can make friends, but also you can, like, not have to have anyone with you.
Mhm. Yeah, I say that all the time. I write that all the time in my journal, like, it's like talking to a friend, but, like, without, like, any judgment. It's like you can literally just, like, write
Yeah.
whatever you want. And, like, I've also, like, past few months, I've just, like, I kind of I committed to doing, like, 100 days of writing poetry. And so
Mhm.
some days I would write, like, it was, like, 100 poems in 100 days, but I actually did it in less time just because, like, some days I was writing, like, super short poems, and I would kinda write a bunch in one day, and other times I would just, like, other days I would go without it. But, like, I feel like growing up, it was, like, especially in high school, like, there was a lot of amazing poets, and so I kind of got in my head of, like, "Oh, I can't be a poet," like,
Right?
all these things. But then I started to realize, like, this is literally just fun to do. Like, it's
Yeah.
fun to just, like, whatever, just see what comes to my mind. And it's probably no one's gonna read most of them ever, but that's not even the point, you
Yeah.
know? It's like, I feel like even just with creating art in general, like, I don't know, the point isn't like what the outcome is gonna be.
Yeah.
Like, that's more of just like, oh wow, like I created something awesome, it's amazing. But and same for, like, when you get in shape from, like, you know, poi or hoops or whatever, like, or like when you feel like you got to work out, like, that's just like a benefit of it, but it's not like the reason
Yeah.
why it feels so amazing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something, I feel like you had something there. Oh, so we were kind of talking about how, like, we get in, like, flow ruts and stuff.
Mm,
Um, but, like, doing challenges, like 100-day challenges, um, we can kind of think about, like, how that also, like, builds us up as well. Like, because there's also something to be said from just doing something that you love doing, even though you aren't particularly, like, inspired,
mm,
you know? Like, not every single thing needs to be a masterpiece.
right.
And we forget that. I forget that a lot, you know?
I
I don't
know.
do sit down and, like, draw something so incredible and mind blowing every time. It's the
Mhm.
act of sitting down that's important.
Yeah.
To it.
Yeah. Even with, like, every time I pull up my hoop, like, sometimes I'm like, it doesn't feel like it definitely feels different every time you pull out a prop to
Mhm.
play with.
And that's also kind of the beauty of the winter that just happened. Like, I mean, that just happened. It's still going on here. But it's the beauty of not having practice in a while. So, like, since
Mm,
the winters happened, I've been doing, like, more indoor activities. Um, but then when I go back to my poi and my dragon stuff outside, it's it's a new experience as well, because then I'm like, oh, I haven't picked this up in a while. Like, I'm so rusty, and, like, it usually isn't, like, my prettiest practices, but they've been, like, really creative because of it. Because I'm just like,
mhm.
oh, this isn't going to be good. So I've just been, like, messing around, and then, like, oh, I that's new, or, like, that's a new pathway. And out there and just doing something, even if it's not good.
Yeah,
Good. It's not what you think is good. Like, fuck that.
I know. And I think too, it's like that's what's so hard about social media. It's like we get on there and we see all this stuff that's like so cool, and we're just like, and it can be really inspiring, but can also
Yeah.
be hard because you start to like get in your own head a little bit too much. And like I feel
Mhm.
like I've definitely like with flow arts, it's kind of like it's been like like an up and down journey. Like I don't, like when I first started, it was like, okay, like this is just for me. Like I'm not like my intention is not for anyone to even see this at all. But then I
Hmm.
started to like get confident. I was like, okay, maybe I'll start like posting a couple of videos. And then it's like I could feel like how it would like affect my flow sessions because I'd be like, oh, should I start taking a video of this? And then it would like get me
Yeah.
out of the zone.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or it's like when
Yeah.
you do take a really awesome video, it's like I want to watch it right after the flow session rather than even like feeling the effects from
Yeah.
flowing.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely like adds another layer to it. Um, and I feel like we've talked a lot about like the complexities of being a content creator and like wanting to put authentic content out.
Hmm.
Um, and it's hard because it's like it can feel so forced in some ways. You're like, oh, I'm gonna, dress up in this outfit and like go to this spot, and then like it sucks if you're not like fully into it. But like those days where like you like smash it and kill it and like really feel good about it, like that's those days are awesome as well. I don't
Hmm.
know.
I know, and that's usually when I'm wearing like sweatpants or whatever. So I'm like, well, whatever. I'm not even going to record this anyway.
Oh, I know. And it's weird to share an outlet online.
Yeah. I mean, something we don't think about because like we're so used to posting, but it's like it really is a vulnerable thing to like share your art with the world. And even
Yeah,
just to have your profile on public, like anyone
right.
could just go and watch that.
I
So
know. I really just like have myself online, like dancing, like out of the camera, which is why, like, it's so cool. And like, we have to remember that too. Like, remember, I don't know about you, but when I first started posting, I was just like, oh God, like, this is so cringy. You know, no one's going to give a shit. And like, I don't think people still give a shit, but like, who cares? I think less about it now. I hope.
Hmm.
I don't know. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. And it's like the teenage version of me would never do that.
Oh, never. Never. I know, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, dang, I wish I had found flow art sooner. Like I knew people that did it for a long time, but it took me a long time to actually like want to start myself. And sometimes
Mm.
I'm like, oh, I wish I started sooner. But at the same time, like it came into my life at the time that I really needed it the most.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like I think any type of hobby or any type of interest that you have, like I do think it comes into your life. If you're open to it, like it will come to you when you need it most.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that might be a time where you're kind of like down in the dumps and you're like searching for something. That's when it, that's when hobbies came into my life, really. And it's weird to think of like a life pre hobby.
I
Like,
know. It's like, what did I do with myself before?
oh, I went to school and that's about it, right?
Pretty
Like,
much, yeah, like homework.
right? It's so interesting. Also, like as a kid, like in elementary school, I had hobbies and like, but it's way different to be an adult with a hobby and like
Yeah.
say that you're gonna commit this time. You're gonna commit this time to doing something. What
Hmm.
like to doing something, not just like sitting around and watching TV.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, like, rather you could. It's so easy to just sit down and watch TV.
Right? And like, I don't know if I've had this conversation with you or with like our other close friends. Yes, no, I have had it with you. Where like
Mm.
I said, you're either like a creator or you're a consumer. And,
Mm.
and like, although you're like some people might not be like creating content per se, like creating a tangible piece that like other people can appreciate. Like if you're not creating something, if you're not making something from nothing, whether that be like dancing in your room, or like, I don't know, then you're consuming stuff, like you're consuming other things. And I think that, I don't know, in my head, it's pretty black and white, but I guess not everything is dual.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we're still all consumers to an extent, but it's like, are you also a creator? Or it's
Yeah,
like, I don't know. I mean, I think it's kind of a spectrum too. Like, yeah.
true.
I don't know.
True.
It kind of depends on the day.
Maybe it's more of a spectrum than a black and white. I'm very like,
But it is true. I mean, I think it's very easy to like get into that point of like only consuming.
yeah,
So it's like, are you only consuming or are you also like adding to it? And sometimes I worry like there's already so much out there. Like who cares like what I have to post today or something like that. And it's like you never know like who it might reach
true.
or
I don't
like
know. Or you could take the mentality of like, no, really, like, who cares?
exactly. Yeah.
And it feels like way less pressure to believe that no one cares and that you're just like putting it out to the void, screaming it to the void.
Yeah.
Some,
No, but actually that makes me feel better about this too, because I'm like literally like it doesn't even matter. Like
yeah, like we're just talking and like, I don't know, maybe something will hit, something will stick, but
you never know.
right.
But
It's just
yeah.
like need to be heard that's fulfilled and like, I don't know, not even heard, like just create because why not? Like what am
Yeah.
I, if this is what you wanted to do, like you wanted to start this podcast, what like what's the worst that can happen?
Exactly. Like it's just
Like
it's a fun thing to do. Like it's I'm excited to see kind of what happens from it and yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, what you'll get better at like talking and recording to yourself. Like I feel like there's like a waiting period between like, oh, I have this vision of like this is really cool, and some people might give up before that's realized because
Mm,
there's so much between like you here and like you wherever your goal is, and like there's so many steps in between it, and like you're getting there.
I've definitely given up on a lot of projects in the past.
Like I said, like everything is a stepping stone to the next thing, right? Because like
Yeah.
you thinking about that however long ago like led you to here, and like now you understand like some more of the logistics in order to like set it up, so like
Yeah.
everything is is getting you closer to where you need to be, right?
Yeah.
I had that issue a lot in elementary school where I would just like have a project and I would be like, it would be too overwhelming and I would want to like nitpick it and like get it perfect. Like I love when things are perfect, but I heard a saying that helps me through, and that is, what is it? It's done is better than perfect. That's what it
Mm,
is. Yeah. So like
yes.
you're just like, all right, this is the name because I'm done, and like
Yeah.
that's it. Let's just send it and
Yeah.
see what happens. What is perfect even?
Exactly. It's not even
Like
a thing.
we just have these thoughts in our brains, and like what is imperfect to us is imperfect because we're so close to it a lot of times. Like whenever like I
Mhm.
make something and I draw something and I hate it, but then
Yeah.
like else looks at it and they're like, oh, that's really cool. It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, just
Yeah. The mind is a crazy place to live inside. Like it just really is. Like
it's a ride.
it's truly just like what you choose to think about and like sometimes I'm like I'll be like thinking about something like I go on like tangents of thinking about things And then I'm like, I literally don't even like need to still be thinking about this. Like I can just go to bed right now, or I can just like
I can
actually
just
think about something else. But I'm like, no, I want to keep thinking about this.
oh yeah, I want to keep thinking about that conversation, that like small little exchange that I had at Starbucks. Like, no. I was watching this YouTube video and hearing her talk about the way that she was talking about herself, like her own thoughts. She was, man, the other day I was being so mean to myself. Like, and I was like, I love that thought process. Like,
Hmm.
yeah. Like, why are you being mean to yourself? I was having
Seriously.
myself. Like, that's so true. I feel that I have that a lot. And like hearing
Mhm.
her say that was so like validating to me.
Yeah. The whole point is like, you're going to feel different day to day too. So it's like some days, like, you might just feel like you're being mean to yourself, or maybe it's, I don't know, like some days you're just feeling like crap. And back to like what we were talking about at the beginning, like, you just got to let yourself like feel that for a little
Yeah.
while, but
Yeah.
also being able to recognize, like, okay, like, I'm feeling like crap, but I'm not going to always feel like this.
Yeah.
Because
It's
I
a
think it's
temp.
important too. It's like nothing's forever.
Yeah. Oh. But it's so hard to remind yourself when you're like being mean to yourself.
I
You
know.
know? Um, yeah, everything is temporary and like, oh man. Yeah, it's hard to remind yourself of that sometimes though.
Yeah. Especially when it feels like it's been like this past year. Like I feel like this spring that we're having, it's like from a whole year of winter. It's
Yeah.
like we've been living, especially now, like we've been living in such a weird time. And it's like it's hard to even remember what it was like before,
Right.
almost. Or like what is life without all these restrictions and everything too. So it's like I feel like it's really finding ways to like be able to cope and keep yourself like balanced when things are crazy.
Yeah, I think this whole year is really just like a test, and also a lesson all in one.
Yeah.
Like, thank God for hobbies for this last year. I've said
Yeah.
that so many times. I'm like, thank goodness I have things to like keep myself busy with, because I've been up by myself a lot this last year. And like, also, you know, the stresses of like all the restrictions that COVID has put in. And I feel like I haven't even fully thought through a lot of like the, like, not consequences, but just like things that have happened because of COVID, mental stressors. And
Hmm.
it's it's been a year of practicing like mental health as well, because you don't have like all these distractions that we've had in years past. Like,
Yeah.
oh, oh, I've had a bad week, but I'm gonna go blow it off at this show or like
Hmm.
this. And so it's given us a lot less ways to distract ourselves from ourselves as well.
Yeah. It's like we always had something to look forward to, or always something to like go do and had to get
Right.
ready for.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I would like if I wasn't doing something, I would feel like I was missing out.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's gonna be interesting to like integrate what we've learned from this last year.
It'd be interesting to see like, I don't know, like who has changed from it and who kind of, I mean, of course everyone's changed from it to an extent, but I don't know.
But how can we get the most out of it? You know?
Yeah. Like, can we just like disrupt the whole system now? I mean, it's already disrupted, but how can we keep that
Yeah.
train going?
Yeah, right.
It's time to just start doing stuff that I really want to do.
I feel like that comes in from last year too. Like, like so short. and
Mhm.
we've seen like how silly the system is that like I don't know, I feel so disillusioned by the last year just being
Yeah.
kind of just like flipped upside down and realizing that like I don't know, this is really extreme, but just like seeing the system that we've been trying to uphold for so long and like seeing how shitty it really is and
Yeah.
just being like, yo, no, like I don't really care to try to support this. Not so like I'm not being an outcast in society, but
Mhm.
just like do whatever you want to do because like life is too short.
Yeah. It's like all of
No,
the standards
no.
that we were born with, like those standards don't matter anymore.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. Like just do what you want to do.
Mhm.
But I'm so happy that you're doing this now.
Yeah. I'm so happy that you agreed to come on.
Yeah, I was so nervous, and also like I just feel I don't know. When I saw your questions, I felt like such a fraud
No, dude,
because
I feel like a fraud doing this in general. And I was
right,
really nervous too.
it's like imposter syndrome. It's so stupid. Like
No, I literally feel like that too. I'm like, nobody's even gonna like want to, but it's, you know, even if we're the only ones that listen, whatever.
yeah, right. No, it's just so much imposter syndrome. Like
Yeah,
putting anything out there on the internet, right? And like that's what keeps us from doing shit.
exactly. And
Oh,
it's like,
I should send you the YouTube link. Just because she had like a lot of good like self convo and was like
mm,
she had like a lot of the same thoughts of, you know, feeling imposter syndrome or like feeling like, oh, you know, younger me would have thought that this was like really cringy.
mm.
And then she was just like, okay, so am I just not going to do things because I think that someone might think that they're cringy? Like, fuck that. And it's like, ah, dude.
Seriously, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I think we all think higher of other people than we do of ourselves.
Right? And it's like they're doing the same shit.
Hmm.
We're all just humans. And why do we why do we think so much more highly of people that do something that we can do ourselves as well?
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
we good job us.
yay. Well, thank you so, so, so much. It's been really good to chat with you. I feel like we need to like
I
do this
know.
more.
I know. I mean, again, this is our first draft.
True. Well, thank you for tuning into this episode. That was my friend Marta that I had on, and I am so thankful that she agreed to be the first guest on this show. If you liked what you heard and you want to stay tuned on future episodes, please go ahead and hit the follow or subscribe button. You can also sign up for the newsletter if you'd like. That'll be sent probably just once a month, is what I'm thinking right now. So not too many emails, but just, you know, if you want an extra place for a reminder and some extra stuff that comes in there, personalized notes and whatnot, then you can go to my website, 101waysofbeing.com. You can also follow the page on Instagram and Facebook and let me know what you think. You can reach out at 101waysofbeing@gmail.com. Again, my name is Julia Schroeder. Thank you so, so, so much. This is 101 Ways of Being.